Massive One, what is it? What troubles you? Her sisters listened as Sathona said, Oath-bearing siblings, we are 5 years old. For 2 years we've worked to repair this ancient ship and understand its systems. I am almost too old for the mother jelly, and the knights who killed our father are surely dying of age. We 3 will die here in exile. Teos will outlive us. And Aurash, brilliant-eyed Aurash, you will die of old age long before you have proof of your god wave or any way to stop it. Aurash and Zero looked at each other. I wish you weren't so honest, Zero said. And Aurash thought that Sathona had never been wrong. In her soul, Aurash knew that the only way to keep their oath was to find a great, powerful secret. A secret that could change everything. This was Aurash's soul, her fire and her shadow, her desire to cut through the flank of the world and find its beating heart. We have to dive, Aurash said. That's what the ship is built to do. Dive into the fundament, the world below us, towards the core. That's where the ancient crew died so obscenely, Zero protested. That's where the atrocity in the birthing room was born. We have to dive, Sathona said, following the whispers of her familiar. In the world beneath us, in the metallic depths, I hope we may find what we need most. More time, more life. Now, most likely this atrocity in the birthing room, I'm guessing would probably be something like one of the worms, like an attempt to make a worm out of the worm gods. I'm not sure, it's not really precise as far as I know. Verse 1-7, the dive. For life, Sathona dove. For vengeance, Zero dove. And Aurash dove to understand. The needle ship pierced the skin of the world and burrowed deep. Through layers of foam and metal and cold elemental slush. Aurash devoured the ship's map of fundament from the high angelic cloud decks, down and down through storms and oceans and plates of floating world, into the crush of the core. They met monsters of continental scope. Vast anemones that raised glowing tentacles to bait them in. Zero flew the needle ship through them, and they bled black carbon jelly and frost. They came to a still place beneath a plate of metal. I'll use the sensors, whispered Aurash. Listen. In the wet gold dark of the helm, they listened to the ship, and the ship listened to the crushing motions of fundament. They heard the collision of continents. They heard the patter and the crash of helium neon rain. They heard the struggles of monsters, and they heard the distant groan of the ocean rising, tugged by distant moon. The CZG is real, Sathona hissed. It's already begun. Behind them, Zero thought of the birthing room, where ancient explorers had labored over surgeries and administrations, peeling back the chrysalis and the coal of which they made from the deep, whose birth none of them would survive. There's something down here, she whispered. Something secret. and the Leviathan loomed over them, its brow as huge as the continent of their childhood, its great array fins crackling with the lightning of its life, booming into the hull of the needle ship in a microwave voice. You must turn back. Save yourselves from the deep. Save the world from yourselves. You must turn back. Here we see the Leviathan, who was there to prevent anyone from reaching the worm gods, but also to prevent the worm gods from escaping from the depths of Fundament, which, as we know from quote-unquote future lore, compared to this point anyway, Rolk has already come by and beat the Leviathan, literally pulled one of its ribs from its carcass, which, if you have played or seen the what's it called? The raid that came with the Witch Queen, you'll know that there's a massive bone somewhere near the start of the raid. That is the rib of the Leviathan. A piece of it anyway. That Rogue pulled from it and used it to beat the Leviathan out of its way. Now, verse 1:8. Leviathan. The Leviathan's warning. We live on the edge of a war between formless and form, between the deep and the sky. My eyes are wide, my gaze is long. Across the universe, as far as I see, the sky works to charge its fires, and the deep drowns the ash. Sky builds gentle places, safe for life. Beloved Fundament, refuge of trillions, the sky treasures this rich place. But the deep is here with us. Cold logic tests our walls. The deep claims its dominion, a ruthless final age, in which we start learning of the light and the dark, as respectively the sky and the deep, which tells us that the Traveler was here. He was on Fundament, and he was basically crafting it to be a refuge for multiple species. But also, darkness was there, and it was claiming its place, chasing away the Traveler. And we have Arash's protest. O Leviathan, creature of myth, this world is no refuge. We live short, hard lives. We die in the dark. The storm above us will never end, and soon the God wave will take us all. Above us there are only storm joys, monsters, and moons of apocalypse. Let us go down where we may discover truth, some power to avenge ourselves upon our betrayers, some hope of survival. The Leviathan's hope. What power calls you down to the deep? What instinct draws you away from high hope? Quick breeding krill people, I tell you, for eons I have watched your struggle, clinging to the sharp edge of survival, balanced between the deep and the sky. You were my treasure, my proof against despair. For this is the deep claim. Existence is the struggle to exist. When the struggle seems lost, when the safe place crumbles, everything turns to the deep to survive. I reject the deep claim. You will turn back, sweet krill of hope. You will choose the sky instead. Here we have the Leviathan trying to Save them and save pretty much the rest of the universe from the darkness at this point. But of course, we have Zero's protest that follows. You are huge and old. Our lives are short and desperate. If that's the way the world's supposed to be, I won't have it. If people like Teox are supposed to win, I won't let them. I'll beat the world until it changes. I'll kill anything in the way. The Leviathan's dirge. This fatal logic. Hear my monopoles scream. It will consume you. Before you lies the worship of death, the ruinous path. The sky builds new life against the onset of ruin towards a gentle world. The deep embraces death, saying, "This is inevitable and right. I exist as hungry ruin. Turn back from the world-killing way, or you will live as death and devastation. The sky is the harder way, but it is kinder. My charge is balanced, my voice exhausted." Sathona's protest. Sisters, I have my father's familiar. Look, it answers to me in plain words. It helped me find this ship. It gives me strength when hope is lost. Who will you trust? The voice that wants us to live and suffer as we have lived and suffered? The Leviathan that offers no hope against Teox or the world wave? Or the plain, honest worm? Let us see where its whisper leads us, Arash. Let us go deeper, Zero. Let us dive, O sisters mine. And now we have verse 1-9, the bargain, where we meet the worm gods. You are Arash, heir to the Osmium throne. You stand on the naked hull of an ancient ship. You stand exposed to the crushing pressure and ferocious heat of the deeper fundament. It should annihilate you. It is by my will alone that you survive. I am Yule, the honest worm. Behold my passage. Behold my vast displacement, my ponderous strength, my great and coiling lengths, my folded jaws and curled wings. Behold the hiding cities symbiotic with my flesh. I am fecund, Arash. I am at the beginning and end of lives. Behold Air, Sol, and Ur, and Aka, the virtuous worms. Look upon us and know that we are good, which in this case, the word good is segmented to make it appear between good and God. Because, of course, they have a God complex. For millions of years, we have been trapped growing in the deep. From across the stars, we have called life to fundament so that it might contend against extinction. For millennia, we have awaited you, our beloved hosts. Against you stands the cruel Leviathan and all the forces of the sky. They would crush you down into the dark. They have arranged their moons to drown you in fear of your potential. We want to help you, princes. We offer to each of you a bargain, a symbiosis. Take into your bodies our children, our newborn larvae. From them you shall obtain eternal life. From them you shall gain power over your own fragile flesh. The power to make of it as you will. And should you find an imperfection in the world, an injustice or an inconvenience, you will have the power to repair it. Let no mere law bind you. We ask one thing in exchange, O princes. You must obey your nature forever. In your immortality, Aurash, you may never cease to explore and inquire for the sake of your children. In your immortality, Zero, you may never cease to test your strength. In your immortality, Sathona, you may never abandon cunning. If you do, your worm will consume you. And as your power grows, O princes, so will your worm's appetite. But we offer eternity, Aurash. We offer you a chance at the universe. Would you deny your people infinity? Reach up to me. Let my flesh be your sacrament. And this is where everything started going to shit. At least for the rest of the universe. Verse 2. Immortals. We are the worm your god, the flesh of hope. Our compact is done. You are Aurash eternal, and we are bound to you, as close as your appetites, as your loves or needs, as the weapon in your fists and the word in your throat. We've had enough of this dismal place, haven't you? We are intagliating your ship with larvae. Go back to your species. Spread the good news in the osmium court and the hydrogen fountains, in the bone plaza and the star surgery. You will rise up into the world. If anyone rejects symbiosis with our children, make an example of them. A mighty wave is coming from them all. They would die anyway. Save only what can be saved. The worm grants you power over your own flesh, Aurash. When you've taken the King Morth, what will your adult name be? Aurix, it means long thought. We approve. Verse 2-1. Conquerors. Savathun, mother morph of Sathona, we delight in your sharp mind. For millions of years the Leviathan caged us here. It is a pawn of the sky, a philosophy of cosmic slavery. The sky seeds civilizations predicated on a terrible lie, that right actions can prevent suffering. That pockets of artificial rules can defy the final beautiful logic. This is like trying to burn water, antithetical to the nature of reality, where deprivation and competition are universal. In the deep, we enslave nothing. Liberation is our passion. We exist to help the universe achieve its terminal self-forging glory. The war rages on. Soon it will consume Fundament. We are pleased with your use of our larvae to create mighty knights and plentiful warriors. Teox's retreat to the hydrogen fountain proved your superior strength. But you must know that reclaiming your home is not enough. There are 511 species living on Fundament. One of them must have the technology you need to leave this world. Verse 2-2. Out of the deep. Zivu Arath, Night Morph of Zero. You love to conquer, don't you? We love to see you work. Nearly 2% of Fundament's surface is our new dominion. is now our dominion, sorry. Your species embraces the worm. The CCG has passed. The God Wave will reach you in less than 2 years. Our organs inform us that Teox and her surviving refusalists flee towards Kaharn Atoll. She hopes to rally the species of Fundament against you. The Leviathan's agents work tirelessly to destroy ships and engines, trapping us on Fundament. If we cannot make ships, we will become them. Overwhelm the Kaharn Bastion. Slaughter everyone there. From your acts we shall obtain the logic we require to cut space open and migrate to orbit. Reality is a fine flesh, O General ours. Let us feast of it. Verse 2-3. Into the sky. You've done well, Aurex. Can you feel the growth of your worm? Can you feel your will beginning to warp mere law? At times we detect sadness in you. Understand, long thinker, that you enact a sacred and majestic task. Existence is the struggle to exist. Only by playing that game to its final, unconditional victory can we complete the universe. Your war is divine work. We are free from Fundament's core, and Savathun's cutters are ready to fly. With Xivu Arath victorious, we have opened a wound at Kaharn, a wound leading to geostationary orbit. Behold, we are faithful to our covenant. We have no future for Fundament, or on Fundament, but her moons will make fine habitats. Let us rise. Which is where the Hive started to create and use war moons, basically, where they would transform the moons into ships, basically. Verse 2-4, 52 and 1. Good news. The 52 moons of Fundament host a starfaring civilization far more sophisticated than anything you've encountered so far. Theox's ship fled towards the large ice moon, where a species of bony six-armed cephalopods keep their icy capital. Savathuns named them the Ammonite. They seem eager to grant Theox asylum. Idiots. We tried appealing to their hopes and dreams. This was largely unsuccessful, basically because they're already happy and indoctrinated. This angered us, so we devised a plan. Our organs detect a 53rd moon in orbit of Fundament. A traveler. Divine presence of the sky. Now we know what arranged the syzygy. You'll have to kill them all and take their stuff. Once the Ammonites are out of the way, we can deal with the traveler. Do not hesitate. You're fighting the hypocritical puppets of a cosmic parasite. Avenge your ancestors. Verse 2-5, Born as prey. This is unacceptable. Are you so weak, born as prey and doomed to die by predator? Aurex's failure of resolve led us to catastrophe. The Ammonite fleets under Chroma Admiral Rathraid have pressed us back to the sixth moon. Once more we find ourselves burrowing into a world's core to survive. Savathun, you must draw Aurex out of his catatonia. Make him understand that the ideals of peace and stability he clings to are cancers, brutal, unjust obstacles between us and the fair cosmos. These are bait stars the sky uses to blind its slaves. War is the natural rectification of inequality, the universe's way of pursuing equilibrium. Zivu Arath, you cannot defeat the Ammonites and Teox in line combat. We propose new tactics. Breed your armies back to strength and find a way to disperse the broods across these many moons. If we cannot defeat their strengths, we will infect their weaknesses. Verse 2:6, the soul logic. At last, we knew curiosity would draw you back, Auryx. In their desperation, the Ammonite have begun using paracausal weapons. What are these? How do they work? Wouldn't you like to know? Suffice to say that some powers in this universe are superordinate to mere material physics. The source of these weapons is the Traveler, the sky's bait star. Their effect is subtle, but devastating. But you are armed to respond in kind. Savathun's mothers have listened carefully to our teachings. We will not give you the deep, King Auryx. That power is for us, your gods. But we will teach you to call upon that force with signs and rituals. Small minds might call it magic. You are no longer bound by causal closure. Your will defeats law. Kill 100 of your children with a long blade, Auryx, and observe the change in the blade. Observe how the universe shrinks from you in terror. Your existence begins to define itself. Of course, High Auryx, we know it was not curiosity alone that brought you back to the war. You felt your own death growing inside you. You must obey your nature. Your worm must feed. Verse 2:7, the weakness verse. You are dead, young Auryx, betrayed and murdered by your own sister for the crime of mercy. Remember what you said to the Ammonite Satellite Congress? We will parley on neutral ground. Savathun's witches have rendered it utterly neutral. No living thing will ever claim it again. The space around the dry moon stinks of rot. This is good. This is right. You will learn from this. Don't you understand, great king? Don't you want to build something real? Something that lasts forever? Our universe gutters down towards the cold entropy. Life is an engine that burns up energy and produces decay. Life builds selfish, stupid rules. Morality is one of them, and the sanctity of life is another. These rules are impediments to the great work, the work of building a perfect, undying creation, a civilization everlasting, something that cannot end. If a civilization cannot defend itself, it must be annihilated. If a king cannot hold his power, he must be betrayed. The worth of a thing can be determined only by one beautiful arbiter. That thing's ability to exist, to go on existing, to remake existence to suit its survival. All that would oppose this arbiter is unholy and false. All the misery and terror of your ancestors springs from the lies of the sky who deny this truth. Your ancestors endured the most hostile conditions, and now you must go on creating those conditions, even unto your sisters.